Hello everyone, and if you're watching this video on the day it drops, happy Easter to you as well. Today I'll be looking at yet another Hammer Dracula figure, this time in the 7-inch scale from Neca. So I won't beat about the bush any longer, let's dive in and take a look at this packaging. As we've all become accustomed to in recent years, Neca have adopted their standard box packaging for this release, and for the front cover here they have used one of the classic Hammer film posters for the horror of Dracula. This is really nice artwork, this is very evocative, and I think they've done a fantastic job of replicating it here. And I'm really pleased that they picked this particular poster. I think the use of blue contrasting against the red is really striking actually, and this will look really nice if you're deciding to hang this up on your wall. Then if we look at the side panel, I absolutely adore this. I think this is just so striking. What a fantastic image they've gone for. So of course we have the logo there, the horror of Dracula writ large, which is brilliant. It is mostly a red banner, which again is very striking, very visual. And then we have this fantastic negative image here of Christopher Lee's count in all his vampiric glory. I think this is just really eye-catching, and this is really going to stand out again on your shelf if you decide to stack these vertically with your other figures. Then if we look at the back of the packaging, we have these different photographs taken by Neca, and we know that Neca excel when it comes to their photography of their photos, and they've created some fantastic poses here and some nice dioramas in the background that really capture the spirit of Christopher Lee's Dracula. This is fantastic artwork in its own right, and I think this is incredibly displayable. This looks very rich and sumptuous, and I think they've done an incredible job with this. So yeah, you can put this in a glass cabinet if you want, and it's definitely going to be eye-catching. It's going to look really brilliant. So yeah, again, top marks for Neca. They know what they're doing. They've nailed this. But that's not all, because of course it is a gatefold cover. We open that up and we have another fantastic image there. Again, a beautiful diorama of the Count with the cape draped all around him. It looks absolutely stunning. And then on the right hand side, of course, we have the window display, and we can see the figure and all his various accessories in there. And behind the figure is this really nicely replicated image of the set from the horror of Dracula as the cardboard inlay. And of course you could use this to stage a very mini diorama, but for me it's just a loving little gesture from Neca showing that care and attention to detail, which is really lovely to see. And this also extends to the figure itself. We know the standard, the quality that we get from Neca, and they've definitely pulled out all the stops here for Christopher Lee's Dracula. If we start off by talking about the head sculpt, we can see they've pretty much nailed this. I think this looks absolutely excellent. This is a really striking likeness of Christopher Lee. I think they've done a beautiful job of it. The sculpt itself is really spot on, but then the paint apps as well, they've just really applied that perfectly. We can see that there's a wash running through the hair. There's actually silver at the temples, which is brilliant, and the top of the peak of the crown there. It's likewise just with the paint they've got around the eyes, the under eyes there, slight shadowing, which is great. Again, a little bit, just very subtle around the mouth where the stubble's coming through. I just think it looks absolutely gorgeous. They've done a fantastic job with the paint application, really enhancing that fantastic sculpt. Now, Dracula essentially is just wearing a suit, so there's not an awful lot of detail that can be drawn out through the torso and the main body. There's some ruffles and crinkles in the suit. The outer jacket is a sort of rubber material, so it does flex a little bit, but it's quite stiff, but it does have a little bit of flexibility there, which is nice to see. There's not really anything going on in the way of paint apps, which is a shame. A nice wash over this would have, just drawn it out and caught the eye a little bit more. Sadly, it is just a matte black, but if we take a look at the hands, we can see that these are really nicely sculpted, definitely bespoke to this character. You can even see the ring there on his pinky finger, which looks really good. Now, again, that is actually surprisingly lacking in detail. I thought it'd have a little bit more to it. It just feels like a bit of a white blob that's kind of stuck on the end of his finger, in all truth. But the sculpting is fantastic, and I really love the attention to detail in these hands. And again, whilst there's not an awful lot of detail in the trousers and the shoes, what we can see is they have used different paints or different plastic materials to differentiate them, which is a really nice touch. So we have the shoes there being more of a gloss, contrasting nicely against the matte of the trouser. Undoubtedly though, my favourite feature of this figure is the cape, because they give him so much material. This is quite weighty, it's definitely heavy and thick, so no light's going to pass through this, and if we open it out to its maximum wingspan, we can see that this is a lot of material we're getting here. That means you can create a lot of different dynamic looks with this cape. You can wrap it all the way around him, or you can fling it back over his shoulder. There's a lot you can do with this, and it always looks visually very impressive, as it should do. Moving on to articulation, he does have a ball joint at the top of the neck and at the base of the neck, so his head will rotate all the way around. It would lean left and right a really healthy distance, and he can even nod it forwards a little bit and a pretty good distance backwards as well. There's a ball joint in the shoulder, so the arms will lift up and out. And then we have a single pin at the elbow, which will allow that lower forearm to rotate all the way around and hinge to about 90 degrees. It would have been nice to have a double pin in here, but this isn't something that I could tend to do as a rule, fortunately. Now it does have a pin swivel at the wrist. That lower hand will rotate all the way around and it will hinge forwards and backwards as well. And I should say that the hands are a very nice rubber material as well, so they're very accommodating, as we'll see, to holding the accessories later on. There is a ball joint in the waist as well, allowing the figure to move from side to side, and he can lean left and right just a little bit. It's fractional, really, and the same can be said of bending forwards and backwards. There's not really an awful lot happening here, which is a shame. Now it does have ball joints in the hips though, so the legs will kick out to the side and it will allow the leg to twist at the top there. The leg will kick forward and it will kind of more or less just go back to base. There is a single pin at the knee again, so the lower leg will bend to about 90 degrees, and of course you can twist this as well, so it will move from side to side. And then finally we have an ankle pivot at the ankle, which will allow the foot to bend forwards and backwards ever so slightly. There's not a huge range of motion here, and it does twist from side to side, but again, it's very minimal. He also comes with some interesting accessories, including an additional 3 hands, no less than 2 alternate heads, 2 versions of the candelabra, and this spade. So if we take a look at the 2 alternate heads, both of these heads of course are the vampiric heads. So first up we have this slightly more subtle version for lack of a better description, because it isn't that subtle. We've got the blood coming down from the fangs there, which looks absolutely glorious. We can see the bloodshot eyes as well. This looks really good, but his hair is neat, I suppose. So this is when he's had a more leisurely feed, let's put it that way. Then we have this alternate head, which is the more crazed. So this is the more slightly more unkempt. He's got the wider mouth there, more blood around the fangs, the even more increased bloodshot around the eyes, which are more stark and staring and crazed. And then of course we have the untidy hair, the unkempt hair there as well, which looks absolutely stunning. So this is a fantastic array of different options that we have for Christopher Lee's Dracula. I really like that we've got no less than 3 heads in total for this figure, which is absolutely brilliant. The inclusion of the candelabra is a really nice touch, and I think they've done a nice job with this. Of course, it is one piece. It is, nicely sculpted and well painted for what it is. There's not an awful lot of detail on the actual candelabra itself, but the candle, you can see the flame. There's actually 2 tones to the flame. There's like yellow and orange paint in there, which looks very, very nice. And of course, you can hold this more genteelly, or you can choose to swap it out for the flame effect version, and of course, the more crazed head. And you've got this very dynamic, sort of striking pose here, which looks really, really cool for displays. Likewise, the inclusion of the pointing finger and that spade or that shovel creates some really nice display options for this figure and a little bit more versatility, which makes it really fun. So all in all, as a complete package, you can't lose, you can't miss with this version of Dracula. I think Neca have done a fantastic job. They've absolutely nailed this, and I think it's a really fun addition to this horror lineup that Neca are so good at producing. I'm really glad they've started delving into the Hammer license. I hope they produce a lot more figures. We know that Van Helsing is on his way, which is really exciting because he's often overlooked. So I'm really pleased to be able to put these 2 together at some point, and hopefully they'll start delving into the Frankenstein franchise as well next. But there's quite a lot of films that they could really sink their teeth into, pardon the pun. So I hope they do. But this is a really great one out of the gate. Is it perfect? No, it could be enhanced here and there, but for the most part, I'm absolutely delighted with this, and I think they've done a brilliant job with it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving the video a like. That kind of thing really does help the channel out, and it allows me to keep making more content. And if you're interested in seeing more content, remember to hit subscribe, as there'll be plenty more videos coming soon.